Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, as we develop this idea of contemplating about ourselves, our family, the society and the ummah, and how we are going to develop a positive, dynamic, vibrant and successful ummah in the 21st century, the question naturally would be, how are we going to do it? So in my previous video, I have given you the overview of how this journey takes place and why it is important for us to understand that there is within the framework of Islamic metaphysics the perfection of this deen, the perfection of the idea of life in this world, the hereafter, and the whole meaning and purpose of our journey in life. So I'm going to give you some ideas in terms of how we're going to go about to achieve this result of we are going to be, inshallah, the most positive human being on this earth, the most vibrant and dynamic ummah, and the most successful in the 21st century, regardless whether we are technologically behind and all that. But actually, finally, it is basically depending on the quality of the human resources. That means if the quality of the human resource within the ummah is journeyed towards being positive, being dynamic, being vibrant, being proactive, then inshallah we would be able to succeed in a short period of time. It doesn't take a long time, because fundamentally the idea of the perfection of this deen is already revealed to us as the final revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. As being the Muslims, we having the revelation of Al-Quranul Kareem and the Sunnah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his kinfolks, the Sahabas, the Tabi'in, Tabi'in, the great Imams, the great scholars who has carried this truth until the last day. So inshallah, if we can understand that, we would be able to we able to find a way forward. So the way forward could be one of these ideas that I'm trying to bring to you. That is the three stages of consciousness for success. We must be able to understand the three stages of consciousness for us to succeed as individual, as our family, as our society, as the ummah, as the world. So these three stages is well intertwined within the metaphysics of Islam. Alright? And I've explained to you that basically we journey in life as a Caliph of Allah. So what is our journey in life? We are the Caliph of Allah. So our great scholars has mentioned that when we are journeying ourselves to be the Caliph of Allah, we must develop within ourselves, to perfect within ourselves within time and space. That means to make ourselves good. So we strive to make ourselves good. Alright, so this is the me stage. As we journey, this first start with me. But the me is also very dangerous. Okay? Because consciously, if we go below the baseline, then if we go downward of this me, then we'll have this whole idea of selfishness, of entitlement, of why I have to suffer, or why I'm poor, or why. Everything is me because of deprivation. That is the idea of an infant. A child born into this world is a very me creature. When it is hungry for milk, what does it do? It yells. Why? It wants milk. Alright? But we have to progress from this infant stage to a matured stage. So the me that we are trying to develop is to strive to make ourselves good. So this maturity naturally takes place within the framework of the positive Islamic psychology model. You remember we have our model in this book, is also in the front cover, where our perception, the whole perception is colored by what? Our environment. That means our family environment, physical environment, social environment, global environment, and then it's also colored by what? Inter and interpersonal influences. And then we are colored by our inner speech, which are trying to bring a strong framework in which we can overcome all our negative perception to become positive using positive inner speech, or in our book it says ISDT, inner speech dialogue technique, which we're going to give as a tool. So at the me stage, we must transcend. That means the development of a Muslim child would be to give him or her the understanding that we are the Caliph of Allah on this earth. So the moment the child is about 6 years old, you can tell him, okay, we are all here for a purpose and meaning. We are not meaninglessness, because the depression that you see in modern society is because of the meaninglessness. A child is not given the purpose why he's alive. He's only given food, given video games, given luxuries, but not given the values of the meaning and the purpose in life. So at stage 1 is very important, because if it doesn't have this me, is not molded with the truth of this deen, that we are the Caliph of Allah on this earth, that we have to strive to do good, make ourselves good. Alright, so then they would know what to do, at least at their level. That means, for example, for a child who's 6, 7 years old, we teach them they are the Caliph of Allah. So to be a good Caliph of Allah, maybe after they play the toys, they keep it in a basket, or if they see that their room is messy, they put the blanket nicely, or they put their shoes in the right box, and so on. So you're teaching them values, all right, good values. As being the Caliph of Allah, if you see some dirt somewhere, people throw away rubbish or plastic bags, you take the plastic and put it in the right bin, and so on. So these are values that you have to nurture, this me at this new stage, because this is the failure of modern society. We give our children food, we give them give our children luxuries, but we did not give them the values of being the Caliph of Allah. It's very important, all right, the me stage. All right, so once we have infused the stage 1 me, they have understood that they have strived to make themselves good. That means they strive to do, for example, be dedicated in their studies, be dedicated in their skills, be dedicated in their ibadah, and so on. So we teach them, nurture them gently towards fulfilling their role as the Caliph of Allah on this earth. So they will then move away from the infant stage to the we stage. That means at the we stage, we have to help others to be good. So they are looking at helping their friends who are, for example, coming from a poor family, could not buy a textbook. So they will all pull together and buy a textbook for him or her. All right, so they are thinking about the we. So now we must think about the we. So we infuse this idea of we. All right, the stage 2 of being the Caliph of Allah is to help others to be good. And there are many things that we can do in whatever measure of our position in society. You need not be super rich to help others. You can help others by doing things. All right, like in the story of in the past, where we can see the stories of a lady giving water to the dying dog, going all the way to the depth of the well, and using her slipper, bring it up and give it to the dying dog, and she go to heaven for that. So small things like that. So we can do these we activities, small things that we can do within our society, all right? Helping each other to help each other to reach a higher level of achievement, because Allah has ordained that we are to develop together. We cannot be an achiever in life if we are just alone. We can't. So we have the we. Then we have to go to the us all stage. So first stage is make the world good. So as a Caliph of Allah, within the framework of the metaphysics of Islam, we start with making ourselves good, helping others to be good, and making the world good. So when our journey is perfecting, we know that Allah is all perfect. So we talk about making the world good or perfecting the world and the universe. That is the role of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, but He gives us the means and the tools within the context of the knowledge or the roh that He has given us. That means for us, we have remember our four rim of we have our roh, we have our qalb, we have our akal, and we have our jasad. So we are here. Our nafs is here. So from the rim of the absolute what? Absolute roh. Because in some small measure, Allah gave us, He breathed into us His spirit. So He gave us this roh, the quality of spirituality that once given to us will last forever and ever and ever. So we have this spiritual quality that is innate in the nature of our existence at the me, we, and us all level. All of us are the Caliph of Allah on this earth. All of us are the creatures of Allah, but Allah has selected this creature called Bani Adam to be his Khalifah of Allah, to realize the grandeur and the glory of Allah. So we manifested the perfection or the ideal truth of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because He is the hidden treasure, He yearns to be known, so He created the creation. And we can see the whole idea of this unfolding of creation in front of our eyes. So from here, when we are moving through this stage, from the me stage to the we stage to us all stage, we are receiving inspiration, intuition, grace, help, blessing, love from the realm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is constantly giving. So in the reality, when we are able to do that, we want all of us to live in this world. We want to be happy, for example. We strive so hard to be happy, to find happiness. But what happiness do we find? We find happiness in having big fancy cars, private jets, or big houses, or whatever. But that is just temporary. These are the thing of the dunya. But happiness is a concept of what? Concept from the roh, qalb, and akal. And it is manifested in the jasad. So to achieve happiness is not the material things. To achieve happiness is receiving the gift, the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's infused into our realm of our existence in this world. So naturally, as we go through this life, it is not all perfect. We cannot say, oh, when we go through this journey, there is no suffering. There are suffering from time to time. There are lessons to be learned for us in this dunya. So when we go through a situation where it is not good or harmful, or maybe deprivation, for example, there are a lot of people who are having problems of hunger. They are dying of hunger. They are dying of war, like in Syria. All right, what is our role then as the we? What can we do? And us all, what can we do? We have to stop war. We have to stop deprivation. We have to give food to those who are in need, and so on. So the whole idea is for us to understand that the stage of consciousness for us must first start with me, and then understand the we, and then understand the us all. At the highest level then, whatever that you yearn to do, inshallah, will be manifested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you yearn to be a successful businessman, Allah will give. You yearn to be a good environmental activist, to plant, say, 1 million trees, Allah will give. You yearn to be a good farmer so that you have bountiful harvest, Allah will give. Because at the level of stage 3, you receive from the divine grace the help that you need, the intuition, and the approach in which the khazanah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unlimited. What we need to do is to have tawakkul ala Allah. So we have this tawakkul ala Allah. We try to remember the unlimited, the infinite gift of Allah. So when you close your eyes, you reflect over what you need to do. Don't be limited, because Allah has created you as a being within the sphere of this life that we have. We are limitless. We are given more responsibility than even the angels. That's why in the Quran, Allah tells the angel to bow to Adam alayhi salam. So we have a great role to play in this world, each at every level of our existence, each at every level of our capability and capacity. So I cannot equate myself with the poor farmer, for example, in Pakistan. He is striving all his might, all his life to feed his 6 children. And the harvest is not bountiful, and he just get a little bit. But then, if he's open to this understanding, he just not think of me, he can work within the community and us all. Maybe they can help, maybe to help each other to develop better method of farming, all right, to develop schools for their children. Small, they can be poor, but they can have a full life of happiness, of fulfillment, of achievement, because this dunya is temporary. Allah has ordained this dunya for all of us to be maybe 70, 80, 90. Very few reach 100 years old. So we have to leave this dunya. We have to leave behind all our physical dunya things, our houses, our sports car, our jet plane, everything got to go. We are not going to be buried with it. But you know, the ancient emperor of China, they bury everything with it, including live soldiers. They put the terracotta soldiers, but they also killed and slaughtered thousands of their soldiers and bury them together and you can see the bones of these poor soldiers being killed together with their so-called emperor, so that these poor souls are supposed to service the emperor even in the realm of the spirit. Alright, so this is where selfishness, self-aggrandizement, like Fir'aun, brings destruction to that emperor and brings destruction to this dunya. So what is important for us is, for we Muslims, if we want to be a positive, dynamic, successful ummah, we have to embrace this whole idea. Ask ourselves, reflect on the me, at my me level, all right? In our meditation or in our contemplation, what can we do to strive to make ourselves good? So every day you do one small thing, and progressively do one small thing, and have the istiqamah to do that one small thing, and then it will slowly grow, all right? Or two things or three things, and one for yourself, one for your family, one for the society, one for the dunya, one for the birds, or the environment, and so on. So you spread yourself in whatever measure that you are capable, to then move to we, and then you contribute more, all right? And then when you able to reach the us all level, this stage, you strive to make the world good. Just like I mentioned to you in the previous video, that we have 7 billion human beings, not Muslims. We have 1.7 billion Muslims. I made a mistake in the previous video. I said there are 7 billion Muslims. There are 7.4 in fact billion human beings. So if every human being planted one tree a year, or one tree a lifetime, they have 7.3 billion trees that we can make this earth greener. If Muslims only, 1.7 billion Muslims, plant one tree, we have 1.7 billion trees. What about each Muslim plant 10 trees? Then we have 17 billion trees. That's enough to change the atmosphere so that we have more oxygen. And we can plant. And there are technologies now available, all right, where we can draw the groundwater temporarily to green. For example, the Sahara is possible, because underneath Sahara there is a huge ocean of water underground, very deep underground. And we can tap it using tube well, and then we can then fertilize some trees and plants, turn it into savanna, turn it into forest and so on, just like in the past. The Sahara was a beautiful garden that Allah has created. So we can, in whatever measure that we can do, at the macro level, naturally, we want to green the whole of Sahara. At the micro level, we can stop the desertification. For example, the whole Sahara is growing at 20 kilometers a year downward. So a lot of communities in Nigeria, in the Sub-Sahara, in Chad, in Mauritania, and so on, they are becoming problematic because of drought, of no green, so no food for their cattle or their lambs and so on, and there is no way out. So we must teach them this whole idea, and it doesn't cost much. So if we are going to tell that we're going to make this world a better world, one of the ideas that we Muslims must work is, we must make war obsolete. We must make war making weapons of destruction, whether it's jet plane or robotic drones or whatever it is, all this expensive military hardware, make it illegal. Make this world peaceful, and all those trillions of dollars, resources, can easily, within inshallah 10-15 years, green this whole earth. If only we have the thinking of how we're going to make us all. So remember, this is a spiritual journey. When I'm telling you, this guy is saying something, no, it's not this, it is the spiritual journey. If we want to have a spiritual journey of being the Caliph of Allah on this earth, if we want to have inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we want to have intuition from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we want to have the grace of Allah, we want the help, Nasrullah, the help of Allah is very near, we want the blessings of Allah, we want the love of Allah, then from His realm, it is unlimited. He is the Ghafurul Wadud, most forgiving, most loving. He is the possessor of the absolute, everything and anything that you desire for goodness, because in His hand, biyadikal khair wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, He has power over all things. So if He wants to give us this ummah, this 21st century ummah, to turn from our current situation of ummatic failure or ummatic difficulties and the doldrum they are facing day to day, for Muslims, with the 1.7 Muslims throughout the world, we can change it. And we can change not only ourselves, we can change our brothers and sisters, those who have no deen, those who do not know the truth, this metaphysics. I'm telling you, all these things is from the Quran. It is not something that I invented. It is something from the journey of the Quran. The whole idea of this inspiration, grace and mercy of Allah is all in the Quran. This journey of being the Caliph of Allah is all in the Quran. So we have a very, very wonderful, perfected deen for all humanity. And Allah has selected us to be a mu'min, a Muslim, the one who surrendered to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and serve the community and serve this dunya, to be his true and sincere servant of Allah, to be his Khalifa on this earth. So remember, when we want to say that we want to be a vibrant ummah, then we must have all the necessary tools, the ability, the knowledge, the skill set in a modern world. So we have to change, and inshallah, most importantly, change our mindset. Remember, Allah created us as a spiritual being living on this earth temporarily. Use this opportunity of our existence on this earth to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to glorify Him, to align ourselves with His divine grace, love, mercy and blessing. And inshallah, we receive the gift of peace, happiness and success in this world and the hereafter. Inshallah.